welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Emily with Emily Plans, and I am here to talk about something that I've been going through all year. If you follow me over on Instagram or on TikTok, then you know what's been happening in my life since about mid-March. And now that I'm at a place in my life where things are getting resolved, I can finally talk about it. And the thing I'm gonna talk about, is my divorce. So before I even get into all of the bells and whistles about my divorce, a couple of things I just want to start off with. So first and foremost, I will be referring to him as my ex. I will not be saying his name. If you've known me for a long time, you already know his name, but I'm not gonna put that out there. Another thing I will tell you guys right off the bat, this is not the video for drama or to find the hot juicy details. My ex did not cheat on me or anything like that, so nothing like that happened. And last but not least, this is just me speaking from my experience. So everyone has their reasons for why they decide to end a relationship, whether it's a marriage, you guys are just dating or whatever. This is really for me to tell why I decided to leave, why I decided to not go back, and really talk about what it was like to go through a divorce. This was never something I thought I'd go through. I was with my ex for 17 years and we were married for 11, and I never thought that this was going to be the outcome. It was the outcome, and the only thing I can really do is just kind of grow and move on. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so like I said, me and my ex, we were together for 17 years. I met him when I was 19 years old. I had just started I was about to start my sophomore year of college, and we met at the clothing store that we worked at together. And I don't really know if it was love at first sight, but I thought he was really cute and I thought he was really nice, and we just kind of hit it off. From there, we dated for 6 years where we did have a break. And then when we decided to get back together, he proposed, and I immediately said yes. I was really excited. And then about a year and a half after we got engaged, we got married. So we were married in May of 2011 here in Iowa, and it was a really nice ceremony, really fun wedding, and all my friends were there, my family, his family, and everything was really good, you know. We ended up, during the course of our marriage, we lived in 3 different states, did a lot of travel together, experienced a lot of different things. And it was one of those situations where, because we moved so much because of my job, we had the opportunity to really only focus on ourselves as a married couple, and also really lean on each other. That was another really important thing. And we definitely did do that. So like I said, we ended up moving back here to Iowa in 2018. We bought a house, and we were just continuing on kind of where we were, right? We actually found out in 2016 that he could not have kids. And so we just figured, you know what, let's just live life as we know it. If we decide to adopt, then we will, but for now, we're just gonna be married. So, that's kind of my marriage in a nutshell for the most part. I think looking back on my marriage, there were a lot of signs and reasons that I probably should have left sooner than what I did, but I didn't. And that just kind of is what it is, you know. I think if you ask anybody when they do get divorced, are there times where they should have probably left? Yeah, more than likely. But when you're in that space, especially with us living from so far away from home, that just wasn't something that really came across my mind. I was always under the impression that for a relationship that you really wanted, you need to work hard for it. You need to keep going. You need to fight for it, things like that. And I can honestly say that in my marriage, I feel that I did everything that I could do to stay married and to have a healthy and happy relationship. So let's go ahead and fast forward. That was kind of like the bulk, right? Let's just go ahead and go back to the last 2 years, because that's really when I decided to think about what I wanted next. So let's talk about COVID. COVID was very interesting, I think, for everybody, because we were in our houses and we, are spending exuberant amounts of time with our families, not really being able to go out and things like that. And I will say that the saving grace during COVID for me was the fact that me and my ex were not sleeping in the same room. So we actually had decided a few months prior to that I would actually have my own room and he would actually have his own. That was something that I felt was necessary because I was actually traveling for work quite a bit and I got used to not sleeping next to him. So it was like, okay, let's just go ahead and have our own separate rooms. Working through therapy, I'll talk about my whole therapy angle later. That was actually a way for me to cope with the situation that I was in with my marriage. I wasn't happy. And I really think that COVID really spoke to how I was feeling. And there were some times that we would have arguments and I'd just be like, is this really what I want? Is this really the route that I want to go here? But it would always come back to, I don't think I can do any better and it's not that bad. So I stayed. One of my friends knew how I was feeling. And I have quite a few friends, quite a few people that I really love and care about. But it was just the one, right? So anyway, I think what really set things apart for me and knowing that I wanted something different I felt like with my ex, again, he didn't cheat on me or anything like that, but I started to really open my eyes and see the person that he had become. So I say that because, we are not the same people we were 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, I was 26, newly married, right? I'm not that same girl. I'm not the same girl that I was at 18, at 19, at 24, at 26, or even at 35. I am a different person, but at the same time, there are elements of that girl still in me. That girl helped me grow into who I am now. And it was in 2021 when I really started to look at how much my ex had changed. But yet a lot of things stayed the same. For example, one of the things that definitely stayed the same was the fact that my ex was very insecure. He was really not a fan of me having male friends. Definitely was not a fan of me going out with my friends, having a good time. If I would go out with my friends, a lot of the time he would call me incessantly or send me text message asking me when I'm going to be home. But I also started to notice that some of the things that I did in our marriage that made his life a lot easier, it was not being reciprocated. Perfect example. I really took to the provider role and making sure that bills were paid, laundry was done, groceries were shopped for, just really making sure that he really didn't have to do or worry about a lot because I knew that he was dealing with a lot. Looking back, I don't know what he was dealing with, but I feel like I took on a lot of the stress and pressure of being a married spouse that he didn't really have to worry about. I also noticed he was just mean, again, he didn't hit me or anything like that. So this was not a issue of domestic violence, of physical domestic violence. But, he would say some pretty off the wall stuff to me. And I'm like, wait, really? You did not just say that to me. And I also noticed too that for every moment where we would actually be having a good time and be enjoying each other, no. There was always an argument. There was always something for him to be upset about. I also noticed too that I was really being tired of someone that would get mad at me and then would just stop talking to me. You know, communication is key in every single aspect of relationships, whether they be romantic relationships, friendships, work relationships. It doesn't matter. There needs to be a certain level of communication to where if I do something wrong or if someone does something wrong, you need to be able to get to a point where you can talk about it. And he would go days without talking to me. And it could be something as small as, you know, not acknowledging that he folded the laundry for the day. That's what I was starting to deal with more and more. I'm not going to lie and say that political views didn't have anything to do with it either. You know, I am the first person to definitely say, you know what, how you choose to align yourself politically is on you. But how you choose to align politically is going to affect and harm the well-being of people that look like me and people that are from marginalized and underrepresented populations, then we have a problem. And that's exactly what happened. And yes, if you didn't know, my ex is white. I'm not gonna, y'all already know, okay? And I really started to also feel like he just started to become this person that I was just really struggling with to say, do I really want to be in this relationship for the rest of my life? So I decided to do what I needed to do. I got some legal help, and the attorney that I reached out to was very helpful in helping me come to my decision. And really, at the end of the day, what it came down to was, how do I, Emily, want the next 17 years of my life to be? Do I want it to be like the last? Or do I want it to be different, where I can see myself growing and progressing and really enjoying the life that I have? And getting to a point where I can enjoy the life that I've always wanted for myself. And that's exactly what tipped the scales and made me say, I can't do this anymore. It was not easy for him to take that information. As a matter of fact, there was a defining moment, and that defining moment was he had the audacity to disrespect me in front of someone that I really care about. And it was verbal. And with the way he did it, I said, you know, if he can't respect me in front of the person that I care about most in this world, it's never gonna happen. So I had to exit stage left, y'all. And I did. And something that my mother told me on my birthday this year when I turned 36, and my mother and father and a few of my very close friends had known by the time my birthday came around in March what I was gonna do. She said, you know what, Emily? If I could give you any advice on this birthday, and you guys probably might have actually seen this on my IG stories. She said, if you say you are going to do something, you need to do it. And I knew there was no going back. And that I not only needed to go through with what I said I was gonna do, but the reason why I was gonna do it was because of me and what I wanted out of my life. And there was no way, shape, or form that I was gonna go back to something that I knew wasn't benefiting me, it wasn't helping me, and it wasn't getting me to the point where I could live the life that I've always wanted for myself. So, I asked for a divorce in late February. I started to move out of my house because I knew that I needed full separation and I couldn't live with him anymore. And I actually moved in with my parents for 4 months. And as you guys know, my parents are the full-time caretakers for my 2 nephews. So living in a house with my parents, 2 teenage boys, my dog, and my puppy brother, Ryder, that was fun. But it was something that I definitely needed to do. It really helped me realign with what it was that I wanted and stay focused. It was the first time in 17 years, you guys, that I truly just got to worry about myself. The fact that I hadn't been able to really focus on me for 17 years. Like the last time it was, this is what Emily wants, not Emily plus my ex. I was 19. That's incredible. And I really enjoyed being on my pseudo own since I was still living at home. And it really solidified that I did the right thing for myself and moving out and moving on to something else. So I ended up getting legal counsel, and I officially filed for divorce in June of this year. My ex was not happy about that. In addition to filing for divorce, I actually also added a clause in my divorce where he could no longer communicate with me. He really didn't like that. So, but again, it was the best thing that I could do for myself. I needed just a full, I can't do this, I need to focus on me. And me and you talking about what's coming isn't going to help either one of us, because you don't understand why I left and I'm tired of telling you. So that was probably like one of the best things that I definitely could have done for myself. The next couple of things that happened, that's where it got really interesting. So my ex ended up moving back to his hometown in the house that I am living in now. He basically left. And so I decided to move back in because it was time for me to live on my own, which I had never done before. But also, you know, I have a 14-year-old nephew who was starting high school and I was staying in his room. He needs his own space. My parents were pretty overwhelmed with also having their 36-year-old daughter there. So it was just time for me to move out and to get out on my own and to be responsible for myself. It was definitely like one of the best things that I could have done for myself, I think. I love and appreciate my parents for letting me stay, but me getting out on my own was a big thing for me to do. From there, that's really when my divorce started to elevate and get more difficult. You know, there's this whole idea out there that, you know, you can have a divorce where everything goes how it's supposed to go and both parties are going to be respectful. I do think that that is possible. It just wasn't the case for my divorce. Things just kind of got worse and worse. And my ex became very angry and bitter and spiteful. But again, it was also a reiteration for all of the reasons why I said I was going to leave in the first place. So I basically just kind of let him do what he wanted to do, all the while, you know, I was, you know, getting the counsel from my attorney, and still moving forward with my life and the things that I wanted. It's really awesome when you can kind of see in the distance what's coming and your blessings, and that was really my guiding force. Also, I had an amazing support system. There were a lot of times where I wanted to quit and just be done and say, excuse me, I'm not gonna fight anymore, but I kept going. And that's really where we are for now. So where am I with the divorce and all of that stuff? So where am I with the divorce? Easy. It's done. Last week, we did mediation. Mediation was very hard, very trying. I think the best thing about mediation was that I didn't have to see him. But, you know, because of mediation and finalizing the divorce and everything like that and the assets that we had together, I do feel like in a way it did not go in my favor, but the ultimate goal was to be divorced and to take back my name and take back my life. And that's exactly what happened. So we signed the divorce paperwork the day that we finished mediation and we agreed. And the judge actually, what my attorney initially told me was going to take 30 days, took less than a week. So as of Tuesday of this week, which I believe was the 1st of November, I am officially divorced from my ex. I did cry when I got that information, not because I was sad or, oh my God, I made a mistake, but I cried because this has been the hardest 7 months of my life that I have ever experienced. And I am so grateful that it is over and that I can officially move forward and do all of the things that I wanted and be the person that I always knew I could be. And it's incredible that it's done. So, that being said, I am working on a couple of things that's going to be changing in my life, and I will talk about those changes as they come about, and I'm really, really excited for them. But I really wanted to just take this time to really talk about my story a bit, because again, nobody's story is going to be the same, and this is what I love about this social media era that we're in now, is that everyone's going to have the opportunity to tell their story how they see fit. This is my story, and the cool thing about it is this is only one part of it. So there are still a lot of things that I want to do in my life. I'm 36. I'm going to be 37 in March. And this is the first time that I really get to dictate what comes next in my life. And I'm so thankful and proud of that. Oh my God, you guys have no idea. But the other thing, though, that I also wanted to do is say I am not the expert here. Again, I've only been through one divorce. I hope to only be through one divorce. And I also think, too, that to a certain extent, I was also very fortunate that I had a really good support system around me. I mean, for the people watching this, you know who you are. But I'm not going to name anybody out or single anyone out. But when I tell you those people that were in my corner, that picked up the phone and heard me crying, that would receive frantic text from me like, oh, I can't take this, like, I can't believe he's doing this, all of those things, those people were just amazing. And my advice to anyone that is thinking about leaving a situation that is no longer beneficial for them, or even filling their cup, filling up that energy, giving them purpose, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the first thing you need to do is walk out. What I am going to tell you to do is to really take a step back and really ask yourself, is where you are now where you want to be 5 years from now? If the answer is no, then you really need to evaluate what it is that you do want and where you do see yourself in 5 years, and figure out what your plan is to get there. I always think that exit strategies are incredibly important in every aspect of life. And definitely at that point, that's when you should start creating yours. My exit plan, when I initially talked to my attorney at the end of 2021, was I was going to get through the holidays and have my decision by April 1st. Luckily for me, my decision was made clear in February. But I also do think that that is something that is very important. So that way your ducks are in a row when you decide to make that decision. Another thing is put your safety first. I am not saying that anybody has negative intent that's going to end in violence, but you need to protect yourself at all costs. Make sure that your exit strategy has something in place that's going to protect you, not only mentally and spiritually, but also physically. If that means you need, if you need a protective order, then that's what you need to do for yourself. If you need to let people know exactly where you are when you're there, you need to go ahead and do that too. Another thing, get legal counsel. Get legal counsel. Get legal counsel, okay? Legal counsel is so GD important. There are professionals out there that can help you. It does cost to get a divorce, but a lot of, in my experience, a lot of attorneys, especially ones that are dealing with family law, will work with you to figure out a way to pay for your divorce or separation or whatever it is that you want to do. Those services are definitely out there. Reach out and get that kind of help. Nobody should have to go through the paperwork and the hassle of dealing with a divorce on their own. It is hard. I mean, it was hard for me. I could not imagine how hard it is for someone that has children. Luckily, me and my ex did not have children. And then the last piece of advice that I have, if you are seriously considering getting out of a situation like this, whether it be a divorce or whatever, therapy. Find a therapist. Just like with legal counsel, there are a lot of ways to get free or even discounted therapy out there, whether it be via website, there's a lot of different places, a lot of different ways. I have always been a really big proponent of seeking help, especially with my mental state. Kind of like most millennials, I have severe anxiety and depression. So I've actually been in therapy for a long time, but what was really important for me and my therapist to go through was increasing the number of times that I would see her a month. I got to a point where I was seeing her weekly, a couple of times, twice a week, because there was so much going on. And having that unbiased opinion was incredibly important as I went through this process. So those are definitely going to be like my pieces of advice that I have. If this is something that you've been thinking about and are wanting to do. I would say the last thing, I think I had said that therapy was the last thing, but whatever. Last thing. And I really, really want you watching to hear this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with choosing yourself and putting yourself first. It doesn't matter. Under no circumstance should we have to live our lives to the point where there are only a few places that we truly feel safe and heard and valued. If you have to put somebody behind you to get to a point where you can not only live the life that you want, but also feel safe and loved and valued, there's nothing wrong with that. Give yourself grace also for not leaving sooner. I think that was one of the hardest things that I had to overcome. I felt like I shouldn't have stayed in this situation as long as I did. But I did. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. I had to learn how to give myself grace for staying for as long as I did. But I also knew that moving forward, I would never put myself in a situation like that again, which was very, very important for me. So that is it. That is all. That is the most brief story of my divorce that I could possibly give you guys right now. I don't really foresee myself doing more videos about this. Maybe I'll do kind of like a check-in maybe in, 3, 4, 6 months, a year from now, just to see kind of like where my life is headed. But this is my story. This is kind of how it went down for me. If you have questions or anything like that, please feel free to put them down in the comments. I will answer them to the best of my ability. And also, if I do have a reference or a link or something like that, I will definitely share that out. Again, this is my story, and that's really the only thing that I can speak to, including my truth. And I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. I will say that since I left my ex, my life, like I had already said, is starting to move in ways that I didn't think it would. Since I decided to leave, things have actually gotten better in my work life. I feel like some friendships that I had have been rekindled, and they're now stronger because I decided to go through what I went through. And then also, I'm starting to do things in my life that I've always wanted. The biggest one, grad school. Even though grad school is kicking my ass and I have homework to do this weekend, I am so proud of myself for taking that leap and saying I want to better my education and doing that. So that's all that I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will be hopefully figuring out a good content schedule because there are some things that I want to share with you guys, including my books. And getting back into reading, as well as, some flip throughs of different notebooks and planners and things like that. So again, my name is Emily with Emily Plans. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody is doing good, feeling good, and I hope you all stay blessed. And